Hello everyone. In this video, let's discuss operation queues or operations or GCD, which one to pick up, and when we are doing a multi-threaded programming, uh, which one gives what, and which one couldn't give what. So let's discuss these things. Which one is having a feature in common, so that we can better judge and take a decision easily when we're doing a multi-threaded programming. Okay, so I've just listed down 5 items which are very important in deciding whether to go for an operation queue or GCD. So first one is the dependency, whether this we have discussed multiple times, whether we need to have the dependency uh, uh, between one task to another task. Then we can go for which one to pick up. Operation provides what kind of dependency management, and GCD provides what kind of dependency management. Second thing is cancellation, whether we can cancel a task. Third one is priorities. If we need to prioritize, how can we prioritize? If it is operation, what it provides, or if it is GCD, what it provides. And fourth one is concurrency, number of concurrent tasks. For example, we need to set, like, okay, at any point of time only 2 tasks can get executed. For example, if you're downloading a bunch of images, of course there would be much demand for the mobile network connection. So we need to be careful, and we can't go with more number of images download at a time. We can go for the 2 or 3. So that case, whether this feature is available in operation or GCD, so that we will discuss. And the last one is size of the task. So if it is a simple task, is it really necessary to use operations and operation queues, and whether GCD is better fit for a size of the task. If it is a complex or long running task, which one to pick up. So basically these 5 are the key factor we need to consider and think through in deciding whether to go for an operation queue or a GCD if you're doing a multi-threaded programming. Okay, so let's discuss each one of these criterias with an example, and let's conclude on these things. For example, if it is a cancellation, which one is preferable, or both provide this cancellation. So that that conclusion we come at after going through the examples. Okay, let's start. Okay, I have made the code ready instead of writing the code in the video, and just to save some time. So first let's discuss dependency with respect to operations, what operations provide with respect to dependency. For example, we have a download operation which downloads an image or file or something, and after that we need to process that particular data that we have downloaded. So if you are using the operations, what we need to do, we need to take a download operation, and we need to take the process operation. And of course process operation cannot happen until unless we get the download operation, until unless the download operation is completed. So process operation is depending on the download operation. So this operations provide add dependency. Correct. This is how we can add dependencies between operations, and we can add those operations to the queue. And once download operation is completed, you will get the process operation. Correct. Once download is successful, our processing will become so download should be successful, then only the processing will become. So with respect to GCD, what happens with respect to GCD? That's basically the main thing. Why? Because it's a low level API. So we can do the download operation in the download queue first. That means you take a URL, you download the image, and after that in the on the main thread you need to assign that image view, or you need to process. Okay, if there is a dependency, especially so what happens in general, so we might prefer to use operations if we need to manage dependencies between tasks. GCD on the other hand might be better fit if you need to perform simpler tasks concurrently, or if you are working with the low level APIs that require you to dispatch queues directly. Okay, so dependency, it's better to go for operations. If you have dependencies, you go for operations, is the best choice. Now coming to cancellation, so let's discuss cancellations. So operations what they perform. Operations, when you are running a long running operation. For example, you can check whether it is cancelled or not. Why? Because operation is having in is cancelled property, which you can check if it is a long running task, whether in the middle of a long running tasks the operation is getting cancelled or not, you can check. And if the operation is cancelled, there is no point in running that long running task. So you can take a long running operation, you can add it to a queue, and you can cancel the operation if you want. So this is how you can cancel an operation if you're doing it using the operations. It is directly having something called is cancelled. If the operation is cancel, if we can check is cancelled. So for example, the operations in the main method only we can write the operation. Initially I can check whether it is cancelled. Before starting my operations, I can return it. So I'm in the middle of a long running task, let's suppose, and I'm waiting here, and for example, if this is a task, let's say 5 seconds, so what I'm doing, I'm cancelling exactly at 2 seconds. So it should be in the task should not get completed in this case. Why? Because we are cancelling it. As soon as this sleep is over, it comes here and this should get printed, correct? And let's see whether this is getting succeeded or not. That means whether operation is, see, in the middle of a long running task, your long running task has been cancelled and it is not completed. Okay, for example, we decide like user network connection has shifted from Wi-Fi to mobile network. So if it is of course image download is a costly operation, we decide like, okay, let's stop this let's cancel this long running task. With respect to the cancellation, operations are having is cancelled. This you can check and do it, and you can cancel the operation like this. Okay, coming to GCD, we have discussed in one of our video logs, which is dispatch work item, where you can cancel same like an operation, you can cancel it, and it is having cancel. So coming to the cancellation, GCD also provides a way, which is nothing but the dispatch work item. For example, I have written here the same piece of code where you are in the middle of a long running task, and it takes 3 seconds, and you are waiting, and after 2 seconds I'm cancelling the work item. So the long running task is cancelled in GCD. Long running task is completed if it is not cancelled. So if I run it and see, in the middle of a long running task, this time it is a GCD, and long running task is cancelled. This is GCD. Okay, so pretty much with respect to cancellation, when it comes to cancellation, both operations and GCD provide similar mechanism for stopping long running tasks. So if you have a requirement like you need to cancel some stuff, so it doesn't matter whether you're using operations or GCD, it doesn't matter. Whereas dependency, it's only operations. Now let's discuss priorities. For example, I have priorities. This also we have discussed in one of our video logs, where if it is operations, of course you have taken an operation queue. I would take a high priority. I will take 3 operations which are like high priority, medium priority, and low priority. So we know these quality of services, user interactive being high priority, and background being the low priority. So user interactive high priority, user initiated second priority, utility is the third priority. I have taken 3 operations. I have taken a queue. When I add these operations to the queue, and if I say wait until finished, if you can look at it, only they happen based on the quality of service, based on the priority we have given. Okay, so the same quality of service is available in GCD also, where I can take a high priority queue, and I can mention the quality of service as user interactive, user initiated, and utility, and I can execute my code, and they happen as per the quality of service that was given. Of course, here and there, based on the system resources, the priority items may change, but basically they both when it comes to prioritization of tasks, both operations and GCD provide similar mechanism for setting priorities. Okay, with respect to priorities, with respect to quality of service, operation is having something called quality of service, and dispatch queue also you can give quality of service. Okay, so it's the same when it is coming to operations or priority. This is a very good interview questions, and it's quite common to ask like operations, when would you choose operation, when would you choose GCD if it is a multi-threaded programming, or if you need a concurrency, then we need to explain like this. So I would consider dependency, I would consider cancellation, I would consider priorities, and based on that I will decide whether to go for operations or GCD. If the question is something like, so I need to cancel items, then you can go for operation or GCD. If the question is like, I have some dependencies between operations, then you have to tell like, okay, it's better to go for operations, correct? So that is why we are discussing all this. Next one is concurrency, or number of concurrent tasks if we need to select. Okay, let's discuss that. Okay, concurrency or number of concurrent tasks. So for example, operations. So we know like if it is an operation, let's say images download operation, we have in the operation queue a property called maximum concurrent operations count that we can set, correct, is equal to 2. For example, in a for loop, you might be having any number of image URLs. If you are downloading that using the images downloader operation, so we can make sure that at any point of time only 2 will be executed. For example, if there are 100 images URLs, it's not correct to download all the images at a time. So we need to set a maximum number of concurrent operations that can happen at a time. Okay, that is how we can do. We can mention the number of concurrent tasks, or we can set or we can define the concurrency with respect to when we are using operations. Next coming to GCD, there is no such setting of concurrent operations or something. Why? Because GCD is not having any property called max concurrent operation count or something. So we take a dispatch queue. Of course, if we give the attributes are concurrent, this will become the concurrent queue, and based on this system defines your concurrency, whether to download 1, 2, 3 based on the system resources. So it's completely up on GCD. Now you won't be having much control on the number of concurrent tasks if you're going for GCD. Okay, so I would say additionally, if you need to set a specific maximum number of concurrent tasks, then it's operations. It is operations. Okay, next, size of the task. Okay, whether it is a long running and a big task, or whether it is a small task. For example, let's say operations. Okay, let's say, for example, you're downloading a file. We can check whether it is cancelled or not. We can use the semaphore so that we can make sure that the program waits until the download of the file happens. Okay, this is how we can do based on the size of the task if you are using the operation. For example, if it is GCD is basically in general, if you have a large or GCD, let's say here GCD, we have used GCD to perform the image resizing on a background thread, and then switch it to the main thread here to assign it to the image to the image view. So in general, if you have a large complex task that can be easily cancelled, paused, or resumed, so generally we need to go for operations. If you have a smaller lightweight task that doesn't require complex setup or teardown, we use GCD, correct? So here we can resume, we can cancel, pause, resume. So in that case, I think we need to go for, if you need to have much control on a long running or big task, then I think it's operations. Okay, so that's where it is. So if you have dependencies, or if you need to have set the maximum number of concurrent tasks, or if it is based on the size of the task, then it is operations. Otherwise, if you have cancellation or priorities, whether you go for operations or GCD, it doesn't actually matter. So that's how we need to think through all these key factors and decide which one we need to go for. Both OperationQueue and DispatchQueue are used for scheduling tasks and managing concurrency in Swift programming, but there are some key differences between them, right? So based on the task granularity, basically. So like OperationQueue is designed to manage tasks that are more complex and may require multiple steps, such as network requests, database queries, or image processing. OperationQueue is built on top of Operation and OperationQueue classes and provides additional features correct. So dependencies, priorities, cancellation. On the other hand, where GCD is designed, dispatch queue is designed for simpler tasks that can be executed in a single step, such as updating the user interface, which we just discussed, or performing simple input output operations. So with respect to task management also, it's you can manage very well, like you can set the priorities, or you can set the dependencies. So in that case, I think operations and operation queues are better fit. Whereas dispatch queues or GCD, it's for simpler and more lightweighted tasks, correct. So in summary, if you have to say, operation queue is better suited for managing more complex and multi-step tasks, while dispatch queue is better suited for simpler and lightweighted tasks. Operation queue provides more control over task management and concurrency. Why? Because you have number of concurrent tasks you can provide, you can cancel, you can prioritize, you can have dependency, while dispatch queues provides a simpler, more lightweight API for scheduling tasks. Okay, that's basically the theory about operations on GCD, or when someone asks you about which one to go for, whether operation queues or dispatch queues. Okay, so it's basically what is your requirement, what you want to do, how much of control you want in your program. So based on that, I think we need to choose. Otherwise it's very difficult to handle a multi-threaded programming, and we need to make sure in a multi-threaded environment we are accessing the shared resources properly. Otherwise there would be conditions such as deadlock and race conditions. These things we'll discuss in a separate video. I'll make a tutorial on deadlocks and race conditions, how they happen, and to avoid those and what are they exactly, and how they happen in multi-threaded programming, and what we need to do to fix them. Like we can use semaphores, NS logs, dispatch barriers. That we will have a separate video on these, so that we'll get a good commanding on multi-threaded programming if you're doing it. Okay, so I hope this post is useful, and it's a most asked interview question as well, like which one you choose if you want concurrency in software programming with operations at GCD. Then I think you should have all this knowledge to better explain the question asked. Okay, thank you.